Well, this is February the 22nd, and I thought the news is kind of at a little bit of a low ebb now, and I thought I'd go back and address something else that I think is interesting and very important is the left and the Democrats' use of racial politics. And I thought that'd be a good time to do that. One thing I find increasingly concerning and absolutely deceptive is this throwing this term white supremacy around. I keep hearing this, and I'm going, they're really as if there's a lot of white supremacists out there. In reality, I'm not going to say there aren't a few fringe groups somewhere that may have some ideas along these lines or something, but they're really not influential and really, for the most part, don't do much of anything. I mean, when you look at, I guess the biggest thing that falls into that category are a variety of attacks that have been perpetrated against the Jewish community, but of course that isn't usually being done by white people, I don't think. So I think there's a lot of black attacks on Jewish people too. So I think you have to look at this in the right context. And there are a few, I guess, fringe groups out there, but I don't think they're a significant factor to be raised as like trying to brand the entire part of the population in that direction. Now, by the way, I want to first of all mention here that if you like these videos, remember to subscribe, and you can hit the bell if you want to be notified, and give me a like and pass them on to people. I appreciate that. And then this other thing that's been thrown out is this whole issue of quote white privilege, as if there's some kind of a privilege that comes from being white, and not only that, but now they're coming up with policies that somehow white people should hate themselves or something, or they should feel guilty about something, when in fact almost all the people today haven't really done anything. I mean, as far as I can say, in a 40-year career in industry, I've worked quite comfortably with people of all groups. Certainly, I worked for 2 African-American bosses for a period of years in both cases, quite comfortably, and I worked very well with them, and I think they treated me fairly too. So I mean, this is a sort of trying to impose divisiveness where it doesn't exist is a very dangerous and destructive thing. And that's why I see the Democrats and the leftists are doing. They're trying to promote division deliberately. It's not a question, they keep talking about like, well, somehow Trump was divisive. No, he wasn't. He was inclusive. The Democrats are the ones that are divisive. And their policies of trying to bring up an issue like white supremacy, which effectively died out as an effective movement sometime in the 1960s in the civil rights era, is just completely absurd and dangerous and deceptive. Now, let's get down to, first of all, I have to define what we're talking about. White supremacy was a doctrine in which, again, white people, Caucasians, should have greater political rights than other racial groups, or exclusive rights, such as the right to vote, the right to hold public office, or even have privileged positions in public accommodations. That's what this was. And I don't see anywhere in the country that this is the case anywhere at all, or any significant factor that has any real influence advocates this. I mean, it's simply a non-issue. And yet they keep throwing this around like it's something that's actually happening. And I think this is only designed to divide the country and to convince black people that they should vote for Democrats, which in fact is exactly what they shouldn't be doing. It's just like this group, Black Lives Matter, is another example of this sort of thing, which supposedly is designed to protect black lives, but in reality, it's an agenda that's completely contrary to the interests of the African American community. I mean, certainly more black people have died in riots, I would say, due to their activities than were killed in truly illegal police shootings during the year. I mean, as an example. I mean, this is, plus the destruction of property and the inconvenience imposed on people in those communities. After all, when stores are looted and destroyed in the African American community, what happens to the elderly African Americans that live in those communities? I mean, their convenience is destroyed. If they own the businesses, their businesses are destroyed. This was basically unleashing hoodlums on the innocent people, and mostly of their own group. You know, so the reality is that it's tried to promote anger and irrational thought and destruction rather than cooperation and progress. I mean, if they were really thinking it mattered, they'd be focusing on improving the quality of education in the communities, not trying to destroy the quality of education in those communities. But yet they are. And that's why and then we have these twisted business community people that are supporting this garbage. I suppose out of fear that they'll be branded as racist if they don't, or something of that sort. Who knows exactly what's going on with all that. But the point is, it's all a bad thing. It's all a deception, and it's incumbent on the Republicans and conservatives to start systematically pushing back on this rather than just ignoring it like I tend to see. It should be challenged everywhere it crops up. Because if it isn't, it's going to eventually be accepted, and I think that is a dangerous situation. And as we're the idea that's increasingly trying to unite everybody who's not white against everybody that's white is only going to affect the civil rights of the white community in a very adverse way, and probably lead to a lot of destructive counter movements eventually. If they want to create the very type of thing that they're saying that they oppose, they're doing their best to try to do it, and I hope it doesn't happen. But you have to look at the fact that this sort of divisiveness is going to eventually lead to a backlash. And we already could see that, the kind of thing that even relatively small percents of a population can do to unhinge societies. So I think that it's important that we address this issue head on and quit ignoring it. At any rate, that's just sort of my thought on that. I mean, I know that I don't want to belabor it today, but I thought it was important to occasionally bring this up. Other than that, I guess we want to, we've had, of course, the winter storm seems to be receding now, and it's leaving a lot of people with contaminated water supplies or no water supply or busted plumbing and things like that. So there's going to be a recovery from that, and we'll have to see what kind of recovery effort. It looks to me like the Biden administration has been fairly slow to provide aid, and this one, unlike what Trump did, who almost immediately signed declarations of emergency when various kinds of storms occurred, including hurricanes and so forth. And now we're seeing a kind of a very sluggish Biden administration on that subject. So I thought I'd mention that too while I'm on here. And I guess I'll just kind of wrap this up for now, not make it too long. But I appreciate all the people that are viewing it, and I appreciate your comments. So I'll close for now.